Welcome to the Wolfram Language in Section 13 of Fast Introduction for Programmers. This section is about options, which work like additional arguments that affect details of function operation or output. For example, the framed function draws a frame around its argument, and this adds an option called background that specifies the background color. Options are entered as rules with the name of the option on the left side of the rule and the value of the option on the right side of the rule. The arrow between the left and right sides of the rule is entered using a dash followed by a greater than character. For example, this adds a second option to that input, the frame margins option, followed by dash and then a greater than character to insert the arrow, and then the value of the option. Many functions have lots of options. You can use the options function to get a list of the options for a function together with the default values of those options. For example, this gives a list of the default options of the framed function. Several of those options have a default value of automatic, which means make an automatic choice, some sensible option value that is appropriate in most situations. Option values will sometimes be strings or numbers or lists, or the values of some options are other functions. For example, here is a plot3D input without any options, which means that all of the options are left at their default values. One option for plot3D is the color function option, which gives a function to use for determining the color of the surface. This adds the color function option with values set to the hue function, which here has the effect of coloring the surface with the colors of the visible color spectrum. The value of the color function option can also be a function that you define, or it can be a pure function. For example, this edits the value of the color function option to be a pure function. The parentheses around the pure function here are needed to ensure that only the value of the option is treated as a pure function. Without the parentheses, the entire rule would be treated as the body of the pure function, which in this example would give an error message. A good place to find more information about options is in the documentation for the corresponding functions. For example, in the documentation page for the plot3D function, there is a section called Details and Options that lists the options and their values and what each option does, and further down the page in the examples section are examples showing the use of these options. Many functions have hundreds of options, so if there is something about the display or about the behavior of a function that you would like to change or add, a good suggestion is to look at the options.